If you're an autistic person in your 30s or 40s, or potentially even younger, and you started to feel like it's really difficult to keep up, or you just haven't got the same energy or enthusiasm for things as you did before, you're not on your own, because many of us already in perimenopause and beyond feel very similarly. Perimenopause is notorious for being a time when our autistic mask can slip, drop, or break completely. And as we enter perimenopause, our hormones can shift quite dramatically. So we'll first start experiencing fluctuations. And of course, many autistic people already deal with progesterone intolerance. So this can be a really difficult time. And as we go through the perimenopause process, our progesterone and estrogen and testosterone levels will decline. So it can be a time when we barely recognize ourselves, because our hormones essentially make up so much of who we are, even if we've been masking our entire lives. So, what can the autistic experience of perimenopause look like? Well, firstly, a low social battery. So it can be a time where we find it just really difficult to socialize with others. It may be a time when we kind of stop socializing completely because of all of the spoons that we require in order to talk to people, and it can just become impossible. A lack of physical and mental energy, or basically executive dysfunction. So we just find it really hard to do the stuff that we normally do with relative ease. Sensory sensitivities, which may lead to meltdowns. So things that once were tolerable may become completely intolerable. So you may struggle with smells, you may struggle with clothes tags. Perhaps they didn't really bother you at one point, but now that's all you can feel when you wear your clothes, so you start taking them out. And lights may become too bright, or noises may become too loud for you as well. Losing our filter when we speak to people, and I think it's a really common experience for autistic people in perimenopause and menopause to start not being able to people please in the same way. So essentially, it's when our mask breaks, because we're just not able to perform in the same way that we once were, because we just don't have the energy. And I guess there's an argument that perhaps it's a good thing for our autistic mask to break at this time, but is it really, when you don't have a choice in the matter? Perhaps we need our mask to be able to work or speak to other people, and of course, if you're just not able to function in the same way anymore, this can be deeply challenging. Physical changes which may lead to uncertainty in respect of our bodies. And of course, perimenopause can be a time when many of us start experiencing new symptoms such as hot flashes or night sweats. So this can bring about a real uncertainty, because like many autistic people, I like to know what's going on within my body and for it to feel like it usually does. But of course, when you've got new symptoms coming about, it can bring about a stage where you just feel like you don't know your body at all. And many of these symptoms can come and go as well. So even once you get used to experiencing a new symptom, it can, disappear for a while and then come back. So it can be a really discombobulating experience. Difficulties with interoception can make the process even more difficult, because we find it difficult to know what's going on within our bodies. And also in respect of alexithymia, this means that we might not be able to recognize our emotions or be able to describe them very well. So this, of course, can create additional barriers when we speak to our GP. Feeling alone, and perimenopause can be a time when we start perhaps pulling back on friendships because we just haven't got the same energy that we once had. So we're spending far more time alone. So this of course can bring around a real loneliness. And because autistic people are more likely to have difficulties around support systems in place, this of course can compound loneliness even further, because it can be really difficult for us to find people to talk with and who may empathise with us. Another potential aspect is burnout. And I think there is real potential for burnout during the perimenopause and menopause process because of all of the changes that we're dealing with. And of course, many autistic people are in caregiving roles during this time as well. So it may be the case that they're still looking after their children, or perhaps they're looking after elderly parents, or both. So of course, this is a time that can be deeply, deeply challenging. And for those of us that are in employment during perimenopause, this can be a time when work starts feeling impossible. And it seems no coincidence to me that it's a time when many women start considering leaving their jobs or even quitting because they're just not able to function in the same way anymore. And there's so little support available for them. Or perhaps they may have to reduce their hours because they're just not able to work full time anymore. New or worsening allergies. And it's really common for autistic women and AFAB people to start experiencing allergies in perimenopause because of changes in our hormonal balance. And in some cases, it may lead to MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome, because it is more common in the autistic community. And I'm somebody that has MCAS, and it can be a complete nightmare of a condition to live with. And as I like to raise a bit of awareness about MCAS where I can, here's a list of symptoms, and I'll leave the Mast Cell Action website down below as well. So how can we look after ourselves during perimenopause and menopause? It's important for me to stress that not every autistic person will have a difficult perimenopause, but for those who do, self-care is crucial. It's a time when we may need more rest, and I know for me, I absolutely have to go to bed for a few hours in the afternoon, and I know that some people may find this too difficult to do. I've got chronic illness, so it means that I am home-based, so I am able to go off and rest when I need to, but it really is about trying to listen to our bodies as best as we can. It's really important also to try and have as best a diet as we can manage. I know that very many of us struggle with this. You know, for me, I've got MCAS, so I do have a restricted diet. Many autistic people are dealing with ARFID as well, so it really is about trying to manage it as best as we can and supplementing where we need to as well. Exercise is really important as well, and I try and walk as much as I can. I get at least 10,000 steps in a day where possible. You know, I do have my off days as well, but I know that when I've got a good exercise regime going on, I generally feel a bit better. Intentional unmasking could be considered another form of self-care, and I know that this is potentially quite difficult for autistic people because many of us still need to mask if we're perhaps in employment or around other people regularly, but it's perhaps finding small ways to unmask, perhaps around one other person, or finding other ways that feel safe for you. And the last on my list for today is HRT, or hormone replacement therapy. And of course, many women and AFAB people find HRT really useful. It's not suitable for everybody, however, and of course, many of us have health conditions that prevent us from trying HRT. But if you feel like it could be an option for you, it might be worth having a chat with your GP to explore options. It may be a case that you might need to try a few different types of HRT before you end up on a regime that works for you. And as I mentioned earlier, Many autistic people deal with progesterone sensitivity, so it might be something that perhaps doesn't work for you, but I will talk more about progesterone sensitivity or progesterone intolerance in another video, because I think it deserves kind of like a conversation all of its own, really. But I'd love to know what's been working for you if you're also in perimenopause, so by all means leave your suggestions down in comments, because I think many of us would be grateful to hear. But above all, if you're also in perimenopause or you've been through the menopause experience, or for those out there who are thinking that they may be starting the process and are unsure as to what to do next, please know that you're not on your own, because very many of us have been through a really challenging experience too. And I will leave some other videos I've done on perimenopause down below in case you find them useful. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. So thank you for watching. Give it a like if you got this far. Subscribe if you'd like to see further videos on the midlife experience of autism, including perimenopause and menopause. And I'll see you again soon.